Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to give each of our experts anywhere from 2 to 7 minutes to share with you what the laws are, and some cases with the policing agency, what is expected of you. But they're going to give a presentation. I'm going to start with Judge Deborah Thomas, who is from the Wayne County Circuit Court. Please let us welcome Judge Deborah Thomas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm actually going to do a two-part presentation. All right? I'm going to start off from the perspective that I was born and reared in the city of Detroit, the Detroit public school system. My children and my stepchildren were all born and reared in the city of Detroit. And so I'm going to talk, and I used to be a teacher. And before that, after that, I was an attorney, and now I am a judge. So I'm going to start off, and I know I'm talking to all the good kids here. All right, so what I need you to do is when I get finished giving you the information and you leave here, you need to share this information with your cousin Boo, all right, who didn't make it here tonight. All right, and that friend of yours that your mama doesn't know that you really talk to in text because they told you not to have anything to do with them, but that's your boy. And you know, and when y'all was really little fellas, y'all got along, I need you to pass on the information because they're not here tonight. All right, so I'm not talking to you, you're the messenger. But we need you to get the information out. So my first conversation I'm going to have with you from the perspective of being a mom, being a teacher. And I presented myself. I look just like, you know, your teachers at school with dress, your parents, your grandmother maybe, the first lady at the church, who are always giving you advice on what you should and shouldn't do. And that's where I'm going to start. And then I'm going to switch over, and I'm going to change my appearance, and I'm going to change my tone. Because I'm going to end this presentation not as the parent or the nosy neighbor who loves you and wants to tell you what's best. I'm going to end the presentation as I'm the judge. It is what it is, and your mama can't help you now. From the perspective of a parent, the goal is to avoid police contact. The goal is not to have police contact and not end up arrested. That's not the goal. The goal is to avoid police contact in the first place. There was a time, especially among our guys, everybody was going to be a rapper. In order to have credit as a rapper, you had to go to jail at least, not prison, but you know, that was even better. But if you at least go to jail, so when you were rapping your songs, you knew what you were talking about, the streets, because you've been there. 99.9% of the same folks were never going to be a rapper and get paid for it. The goal is to avoid police contact. How do I do that? I talk to a lot of young people, and they tell me all the time that the grown-ups always say, think first. Think before you act. One day, one of the young people said to me, wonderful, but nobody tells us what to think. What is it we're supposed to think? You're supposed to think defense. Defense. When you play these computer games, you're on this internet, you got all these games, and you got these games going, and you're thinking 3 steps ahead. If I make this move, I'm going to lose my man. If I make this move, my town is going to get taken. If I make this move, I'm out the game. If I make this move, my buddy going to make 3 more moves, and then I'm going to lose. You're thinking ahead. You're anticipating. As you are out there in these streets, as you are interacting with people, some of whom you call friends, which has a whole new definition now that we got Facebook. You think everybody you meet on Facebook is your friend. We need a whole new terminology to find what a friend is. You're lucky when you live 20, 30, 40, 50 years if you truly ever have 3 good friends. But you need to anticipate. If I go with this person to this event, is it possible something might go wrong? If I get in this car with my buddy, and I know this is not my buddy's mama's car, and I know my buddy didn't buy a car, and I know this car is really a nice car, and I don't know why the steering column got this ignition hanging out of it, because that's not usually how cars look when we get in drive off. Maybe this car might be stolen, and oh, I didn't steal it, so I'm not worried, because I didn't steal it. It's called receiving and concealing stolen property. It's a 5-year felony. When you saw that steering column busted, you had a reasonable suspicion right then and there that something was not right. When you saw your buddy pull up in a car that was too good for your buddy to have, and you knew that wasn't his mama's car, you had a reasonable suspicion right then and there that something was not right. So thinking ahead, you didn't get in the car. Thinking ahead, you came up with some excuse. Oh man, I would go, but oh, my stomach just got me. I got to go in the house. Oh, I would, man, I would hang with you tonight, but I got to see about my little brother. Now, you're not lying, because you do need to see about your little brother. You do need to be a role model. And being a role model and setting the right tone and the right role for your little brother is seeing about your little brother. You got a good excuse, and you don't even look like you was dishing your friend. You need to think, anticipate what might happen. You driving down the street, the music is bumping, the bass is so loud, the whole car is rocking, you leaning, everybody 2 blocks off can hear you. Of course, you got that music on that's got all those words that they bleep when it's on the radio, but it doesn't matter because you knew what the rapper was saying, even though the rest of us in my generation haven't got a clue outside those words we didn't want to hear. And you can't figure out, when you pulled up to that stop sign, you did a rolling stop. There's no such thing as a rolling stop. And you can't figure out why the police got behind you and pulled you over. I got a right to play my music. I got a right not to have to hear it. I got a right to lean over in the car. I got a right to know, is there anybody behind that steering wheel as it's approaching me 20 miles over the speed limit? I got a right to pause at the stop sign because I can tell nobody was coming. Just because I'm a little old lady driving 5 miles under the limit doesn't mean I'm not coming. Your rights don't trump my rights. You'd want to go unnoticed. Fade into the crowd. Turn the music down. Fade into the crowd. You could even put 2 hands on the steering wheel. Okay? Fade into the crowd. You won't even have to be stopped. Yellow light does not mean speed up to get through. It's not what that's about. Fade into the crowd. If you come in contact with the police and you're in a vehicle, you see the lights coming on, you should pull over safely and quickly. Do not run from the police. Do not run from the police. Don't run by using the car. Don't get out and run on foot. First of all, when you run on foot, they have to chase you. They're older. They're mostly overweight. They're tired. And when they get back to the station, they don't want to hear how you didn't catch that kid. Just like you got peer pressure, they got peer pressure. They gonna catch you because they need their job. They got a mortgage, they got a car note, and they got 2 kids on the way to college, and they got to pay tuition. So they're going to catch you. And guess what? They have new technology. They can communicate with one another. They don't even have to push a button. They carry this little microphone thing and fits on their collar. They're talking the whole while. He went through the alley. He's headed up Main Street. I got him, man. I'm going to cut him around the back. I'm coming up the back. Oh, I was on the other side of town, but ain't nothing happening over here. I'm fixing to join you boys. Okay, what color you say he had on? They're communicating. They got you tracked. And in the big city where I come from, Detroit, they got helicopters.
Oh my goodness.
They got it covered on the ground and in the air too. And our state police and our county sheriffs and our Detroit Police Department, they got boats. They will catch you on the water. They are communicating. Do not run. Do not run. In the car, it's the same story. Not only do they have the mics on their lapels, they got the mics in the dashboard. They are communicating. Don't bother. Fleeing and eluding is a felony. 5 years. Fleeing and eluding because you thought you were going to outrun the police. Not going to happen. Avoid contact. Think ahead. Anticipate. When you get in contact, they come up to you, they're talking with you. Say, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Now, I know that's coming as a shock to a lot of you. When I had my first child, I took her to visit my best friend, who was her godmother. And she was, you know, raising up the little baby the way to go. And I told the little baby, girlfriend said something, little baby. I said, little baby, say yes, ma'am. My girlfriend said, I'm not teaching my children to say yes, ma'am. Well, why not? But black folks always had to say yes, ma'am. They was all about, my children not going to learn to say yes, ma'am. I said, that's not the stupidest thing I ever heard you say with a college degree to boot. It's just a sign of respect. It's just a sign of respect for someone that is older than you. So a lot of us haven't been teaching our children, because they don't say yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and to us, their parents, they think we their best friend too, and they talking to us like we are. So they don't even know that terminology. They haven't even heard of yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You can't get that out your mouth. Say yes, officer, no, officer. It helps to set a tone that's calm. It helps to set the tone that you acknowledge that you're dealing with authority figure. And you are, like it or not, that is an authority figure. When you in the classroom, I hope you're not calling your teacher Miss Jones. Hey, Betty. It should be Miss Jones. Acknowledge the authority figure. Keep your hands on the wheel when you're pulled over. They used to teach us, oh, you should have your license and your registration ready when the policemen get to the car. That's called a fugitive movement. You digging all into the glove box. You're reaching behind the seat of the car because that's where you set your purse. You threw your jacket back there, so now you're trying. Don't do none of that. Keep your hands on the wheel of the car, the steering wheel. Lower the window down. Now, some of these officers will tell you something different. I'm not on the streets. I'm just telling you what I see from the courtroom and what I tell the young folks where I live, where we have the highest crime rate. Second in the state. We're behind Flint now. Wait till when you get ready to get the driver's license, when you're getting ready to get the registration, ask the officer or say to the officer, my registration is in the glove compartment where I put my wallet. I'm going to take in my hand and I'm going to open the glove compartment, if you don't mind, to get the wallet. Let the officer know what you're fixing to do. They don't know you from Adam. They never met you before in life. Just because you know you're a good kid don't mean they know you're a good kid. They don't know what you're reaching for. It's not like they've never had a gun pulled on them before in their lives. Not like they don't want to go home to their wives and kids at the end of the shift. How about a heads up? Why I'm going over in this direction, what I'm going to get. And don't get an attitude if they put their hand on their gun because they don't know you. That's reasonable behavior in a society where more people are reacting violently when they're having contact with strangers in the street. You will hear, if the police, if you're out of the vehicle, if you're on the street, and the police say, raise your hands, put your hands in the air. That's so they can see them both. They know you're not reaching for a knife. They know you're not going for a gun. If they say put your hands in the air, I'm going to share with you what one of the ministers told the folks in Detroit. When you go to church, you raise your hands and call on the Lord. I don't know a better time than when you got police contact and it's fixing to get real serious than to call on the Lord. Raise your hands. They don't have to know you're calling on the Lord. Just raise your hands. If everything goes well, you get back in the car, or you walk on down the street, you can say, thank you, Jesus. I called on the Lord. Raise your hands. Cooperate. Things will go a lot better if you cooperate. You hear all the time that you do not have to talk to the police, and I brought these cards over. They're provided by the ACLU. There should be enough here this evening that just about everyone should get one. And it says what your rights are if you come in contact with the police, if you come in contact with immigration, what you should and should not do. As I looked at it, one of the things that I first noticed was not on this card. It tells you that you have a right to remain silent, and you do. You have to tell the police that you're going to remain silent, otherwise they won't know that. And then you have to remain silent. You have to tell the police your name and your birthday. After that, you don't have to tell them anything. We get this concept in our minds that we have all these constitutional rights, and oh, we do. It's just that the legislature and the courts have kind of redefined these rights to set specific criteria. And they're not as broad as you think they are. If the police ask you your name, you must tell them there is a United States Supreme Court case that says so. If you refuse to tell them your name, you have created what we know called reasonable suspicion. Once you get to that reasonable suspicion part, then they got a right to pat you down. Start asking some more questions. Take you in, fingerprint you to find out who are you. You must give them your name. If you are going to say, I want a lawyer, that's been narrowly defined and redefined also. You can't say, I think I might need a lawyer. That's not it. You can't say, I think I might want a lawyer. That's not it. You have to say, I want a lawyer. And you have to say it again and again and again. If they come to you again, if it's a different officer, somebody says, well, maybe you'd like to talk to me, you didn't like that other fella, you can talk to me. You have to say it again. I want a lawyer. I want a lawyer. Go through the card. It is insightful. You can fold it and perhaps keep it in your wallet. The most important thing I want you to know as your teacher, as your parent, is try to fade into the crowd. You don't have to have the loud music. If you come into contact with the police, they are the authority figure. You may be afraid, you may be nervous, but you can say, yes, officer, no, officer. Just hearing that is going to give the officer the impression somewhere along the line this kid got some home training.